Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. And we want to just say thank you for making the ATL Day Ones your first listener today. We always want to thank you guys for that. And remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And remember, wherever you download your podcast, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. We are continuing with our NFC South preview. We got my main man, David Harrison from Locked On Buccaneers. Before we get to David, though, I got to tell you about our friends over at BetOnline.net. It is your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports information. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. We already, they got the Stanley Cup. We already figured out not yet. The Tampa Bay Lightning got that thing down there. Tampa Bay is just winning all type of stuff down there. But you can check that out. You can check out the numbers for with the Mets last night, the Mets against the Braves. You can see what's going on with that. And remember, BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It is the fastest, easiest way to check all of your favorite sports and teams and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. So head over to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet online, where the game starts. Now, David, like I said, I want to appreciate you for coming on, but I got to start off with this question. I think some of the things that, Tampa Bay has had is those offensive line and the free agency. They had to make some moves, play some guys. What are your thoughts on what they were able to do in free agency as far as shoring up their offensive line to make sure Tom Brady can make another run at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest part, Jarvis, of free agency was Tom Brady coming back. I think before Tom Brady made the announcement, let everybody know that he was going to come back for 2022, this team was probably going to lose their starting center, Ryan Jensen. They were probably going to lose their number one cornerback, Carlton Davis. They were already going to lose their starting strong safety in Jordan Whitehead, and potentially even more players. They lost Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul. Now, maybe, in Ndamukong Suh, maybe he comes back if they're not paying, too much money to Tom Brady. But honestly, I think they lose, or they actually spend more money if he's not on the roster than if he's on the roster with the way that his contract was structured. So, yeah, Tom Brady coming back really kind of shifted the dynamic and really the feel of the entire offseason. For the most part, we're hearing from Bucs fans and even some media members that this might be kind of an unofficial rebuilding year for the Buccaneers, just 2 years removed from winning the Super Bowl. But, again, Brady comes back and all the stars align, and they really kind of shifted their focus to the NFL draft to try to fill as many holes as they possibly could and bring in some young playmakers that might also help them win a championship in February of 2023.
You speaking of the NFL draft, I think that, that was actually where I was going next. There was a guy that I saw down at the Senior Bowl, Logan Hall. Out of the University of Houston. I'm really impressed by that guy. He's long. He kind of reminds me of a John Henderson type guy. He's a good DeForest Buckner. Those that he kind of in that similar mold, just tall, long, and guys he can two gap in a 3-4 defense. Kind of tell me like how he's been doing and how he's been kind of coming along down there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is he a guy that you think he's going to be able to steal some snaps down there in Tampa?
Absolutely. I mean, he's looked solid from all reports coming out of Tampa in the early part of the offseason practices and conditioning programs. He looks in shape. He looks good. And I think the biggest compliment you can give any rookie right now before heading into training camp is that he doesn't look like a rookie on the field with all these veterans. And that's basically what people are saying about Logan Hall now. With the addition of Akeem Hicks, the expectation is that Akeem will probably be the starter, quote unquote, on the depth chart. But you're going to see plenty of Logan Hall on the field. It kind of reminds me of last year when Jason Pierre-Paul is still an outside linebacker for the Buccaneers. They drafted Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, the outside linebacker out of Washington, to come in, and Joe got plenty of reps for a rookie outside linebacker playing behind a veteran. But JPP was still kind of considered the starter. And then as the season went along, you kind of saw Joe Tryon-Shoyinka kind of come into his own, start to take some steps. You really saw that NFL game start to come out of him, and even bigger for him because he hadn't played in over a year due to COVID and all those things. So I think we have the same kind of game plan with Logan Hall. He'll come off the bench, but he's going to get plenty of reps. Call him your fourth man, use a six-man analogy on the NBA, but they're going to get plenty of those four guys into that rotation.
I think one of the things you mentioned, Tom Brady figuring out whether or not he's going to come back. I think a lot of people were kind of thrown off about Bruce Arians essentially retiring, or some people weren't thrown off. And some people say that Tom Brady and Bruce Arians, those situations was kind of connected in as to whether or not Tom was going to come back, But we'll probably figure that out in a 30 for 30, maybe 10 years from now as to the answer to that question. But my question to you is, what do you think were the feels when he made the announcement, and then once he made the announcement that he would or Todd Bowles is going to take over for him as the head coach of the team?
Yeah, I mean, very surprised. Everybody to a T was surprised to hear that Bruce Arians was going to retire, and of course, he talked to or retire from coaching anyway. And again, he talked to some of the players, as many as he could before the announcement was made, but very much wanted to make sure that Todd Bowles had a successful team, or a team that was ready to kind of be driven by a head coach of Todd Bowles' caliber. And I think it's really important, because when you go through the history of the National Football League, there are opportunities that minority coaches have gotten in the past, but a lot of times they don't seem to get the same kind of wiggle room or the same length of leash that a lot of other coaches do. And whether that's, every circumstance could be a little bit different, so you don't want to get too general with it. But I think with Bruce looking at what happened with Todd Bowles in New York, and kind of the limited ability that he had to really build his roster and really kind of put the team on the field that was a Todd Bowles team that he would be proud to put his stamp on, I think it was important for Bruce to be able to allow Todd to come into a situation where this is a Todd Bowles team. And every player that you talk to, Tom Brady on down to every, the Zion McCollums, the rookies, or the unknown guys of this Buccaneers roster, if they were here last year or the year before, they all say that the team feel is the same. The team atmosphere is the same. There's going to be some nuances. There's going to be a little bit of a shift in the strategy, of course, going to a defensive-minded head coach versus an offensive-minded head coach. But by and large, it's the exact same team. So Todd Bowles really he got to test drive the vehicle a little bit for a couple years, and now he comes in. Now he's the owner of the car, but this thing is equipped for his skill set and for what he wants to do. It's a perfect situation for Todd to get his second run at being a head coach.
No doubt about it. And I think that's the key thing that you said, the right fit, right? Because a lot of times when, African-American head coaches, when they do get those opportunities, it's for really bad run organizations. And I think a lot of people don't take that into accountability when you're talking about grading whether or not this guy should have a second opportunity. So I'm glad that you brought that up. But I think that, there's another guy on that particular coaching squad who I think that maybe auditioning for a real shot at a head coach spot, and that's Byron Leftwich, because now that Bruce Arians is out the door, because, a lot of people want to say, hey, well, Bruce Arians is still handling everything as far as the offensive play calling, but we see Byron Leftwich working hand in hand with Tom Brady. So I guess my question to you is, do you think that this is the year that Byron Leftwich gets an opportunity to be a head coach?
It should be. I mean, look, I love the fact that Byron is back, with Tampa and back there with Tom to run this offense. And from a Buccaneers standpoint, and getting to cover him in the offense, and from a Bucs fan standpoint, I'm excited for them to be able to watch this offense for another year. Byron Leftwich should be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. Like they're going to regret.
They dropped the ball
put that out there. They're going to
regret
not giving Byron what he needed or what he wanted. But I also want to praise Byron Leftwich, because there are only 32 jobs out there in the National Football League, and really when you're talking about Byron going out there looking for a head coaching job, there's only 31, and then that window even gets dwindled down. I mean, the Bill Belichick's of the world, they're not going to go anywhere, so on and so forth. So when you get down to it, as a head coach going out there looking, or as a head coach candidate looking for your first job, you're talking maybe 4 or 5 jobs max, on a routine basis, and then you're young, and then you have this stigma about you, like you said, and we talked about this on Locked On Bucs, how much of the offense really is Byron. How much of it is Tom Brady kind of doing the Tom Brady thing? How much of it is Bruce Arians? We know what they say, but we don't know 100% just because we're not living it every single day. Now, again, from a leadership standpoint, you can't get any better than Byron Leftwich. He knows how to say it. He knows how to walk it, and the players follow him as he says it, and they follow him step for step. So again, he needs to get an opportunity, and I do believe that this year with Bruce Arians up in the front office and not on the sideline, doesn't have a headset on, you're going to see how he works with a legendary quarterback like Tom Brady, and that relationship is really going to catapult him into the next level. And hopefully, he gets a chance with a team that's got some ownership, a GM relationship that is competent enough to help him kind of build the squad that he wants to build. But again, I give him credit because Jacksonville they wanted him to come and be the head coach, but they wanted him to be the head coach the way they wanted him to be the head coach versus supporting him as the head coach that he wanted to be. And as hard as it probably was, I think he made the best decision, not sacrificing the standard of what he wanted his job to be in order to just have the title.
And to be honest with you, I think we've come a long way for a guy like a black head coach, potential black head coach to say, "Hey, I'm going to be a head coach on my terms," and I love the fact that he's able to do that.
Absolutely,
David Harrison, man, I appreciate your time. Co-host of Locked On Bucs, man, I appreciate you for coming on, and we look forward to talking to you down the season, man. When the Atlanta Falcons get ready to come down your way.
Absolutely. Big Desmond Ridder fan. So let's make this thing happen. I want to see Desmond out there having some success. When his time comes, I want to see him have success. Appreciate you having me on, Jarvis.
No doubt about it. Hey, guys, don't go anywhere. For the Culture is next, right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. It is ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T.